Hello everybody and welcome back to Dickie's Videos, where no war game remains unplayed. Further ado, here we are again with Field of Glory 2. This is the Rise and Fall of Carthage tournament. And this is of course the third video of round 5, the Carthaginian side. So here we are. This is, as you've watched the battle before, and this is my overview of the battle, so it should be quick and short. As you can see, this is the battle we had. I've got to say a couple of key points that affects this battle is this massive piece of marshland to the left, and then of course this big piece of rough terrain to the mid-centre. I want to highlight these make a really horrible point for both of us here. I've got to say this is by far the worst terrain for the Romans, being mostly heavy foot and not being able to give a selection of mediums. Which I love about the Carthaginian force in this era is the fact is I get good veteran African spearmen units, which you can see I've got here, and of course I've got some brilliant Spanish medium foot impact that can sit on the rough terrain. So we're going to have a look at what I do. So we know I've got a large amount of lights here that can take the rough terrain. This was important that you can see my deployment on the left and right, that the fact is the Romans struggle with cavalry. As you can see, we've got probably 5 units to his 2 units of cavalry here, even though he's got sub-generals on each of the cavalry units. My main thing in this whole game was to, of course, just take the rough terrain and gain the advantage. You see, purely the left side here for me is just a diversionary force with the cavalry. The fact is I want to hold as many Roman legionary units up to stop them hitting my units, because of course my Italian foot are good. They're good in rough terrain, but in the open they're going to get smashed. We do very well, I've got to say, in holding this mid-line up. This is where the key battle takes place here, along this line in the centre. The fact is, we just got to hold as much as possible before our cavalry and our lights. I mean, I've got to say, what I really enjoyed most in, of course, the round 5 of the tournament is, of course, this light battle we have all the way through the game. My opponent plays well, and unfortunately he does lose in the end, but he just takes it down to the chin. You see, he's got veterans already on rough terrain. So in my case here, I've got to rush forward. Risk and reward here really more than anything else. The fact is I need to take, and I've got to say my javelin troops on the left, being not disordered in the marshes, but of course the Romans charging into that heavy foot into the marsh will be severely disordered, which is going to be really bad for them. Really did happily on this tournament. I've got to say this is by far, I've had a couple of bad rounds, and I've got to say they are mostly because of forces I've not used before. As you can see, we're advancing further up, it's the veteran African spearmen. They're a beautiful unit. So I'm trying to get all my medium troops into that rough terrain. As you can see, we only have 2 units of heavy foot. So this is the fact is, I don't have to worry about this rough terrain as much. I've just got to worry about the placing of my African spearmen. Of course, my cavalry just sitting there, keeping him honest. He knows he can't leave them open to let them just charge. And this is me just going a little bit cocky on the right. We're trying to have this little bit of a light fight. To be honest, to be honest, it's a lot of points in the lights. He's got a lot of javelin cavalry. So do I. As you can see, he's got 1 unit of probably badly placed irregular foot that should have been on that rough terrain. We get quite lucky with some disruptions. We're going to skip forward. This is 20. We'll skip to 10 minutes. Where we can see the line is. So probably 10 minutes out of the 28 minutes we are fully engaged. The fact is I'm trying to out-cavalry his lights because there's so many points. I mean, I forget this half the time. Is the fact is there's lots of points in there. As you can see, we're definitely trying to outlight him here. But I can't go too far. And I think this is where I probably go a little bit too far with the veteran Italian foot, which are by far, in this tournament, one of the underdogs. We get really lucky with some of these drops, but of course these Romans aren't going to be they're not going to be just what these light troops. I've got to bait him to the left, which we do quite successfully. To be honest with you, it could have been a harder round. In the open, this would have been a bloodbath for the Carthaginians, a right bloodbath. So I've got to sit here, try to bait them off, and I realised the right side needed to be pushed with my troops to try and envelop the centre and left flank. As you can see, we're just charging crazy. I mean, it's a little bit of waste of my cavalry, but you know what? We don't particularly care here because I'm trying to push as far as so we've got 2 fragmented units. We're particularly much having a fantastic day on the right. My cavalry in support, but also my light cavalry doing some pretty good damage. Me trying to move up all of my African foot. This is my Spanish cavalry on the left, just keeping them honest. I mean, that irregular foot is not going to hold well to the veteran African spearmen. They are a beastly unit. I've got to say, by far, one of my favourite units of the Carthaginian foot, apart from elephants, of course. But I'm thinking, okay, we've got him kind of anchored on the left. So we can move the units on the one of the cavalry from the left to the right now. But we're hammering his lights. And this is where we get a distinct point advantage. And we're like, I've got to, define a battle line here to give me some POA, of course, the hill, but of course not giving me a slight negative POA. Here he goes, retreating a lot of his lights to the back, which does pay heed, actually. It does really well. Now he starts the advance. The battle is on. I'm trying to pressure him into getting to this rough terrain and forward. Unfortunately, the Chiarii are weak against my African spearmen. You know, they're a small unit, small but elite unit. They do well in some certification, but against a bigger unit, here we go. Starting to worry here, and a double drop rate, bringing it to equal 5% each. Yeah, I panic here because the fact is he's got elite units, but he's on the rough terrain. If he comes into the rough terrain, it's all my fight than his. But we're butchering on the right. I forget how well I did on the right side here with the cavalry. I think if I had one more unit of cavalry on that right side, went for the 3 units on the right rather than the 2, I think it would have gone a lot better and we would have hit home a lot earlier on the right. But our javelin cavalry are doing brilliant. I love the light African spearmen javelin troop, but there we go, just pushing down, disruptions all the way. There's no way we're going to catch them, unfortunately. I mean, I don't know if he moved the general into the light unit by accident. As you can see in the back, he did actually put a unit in there, which I don't know if that was a bad decision. So I think all here, we're about to engage. I'm going to slip it on for a little bit because some points aren't particularly worth watching here. The mainstay of the battle is where it is. So as you can see, we've engaged on the hill, pushing the right. So remember, the key here was pushing the right. His left troops here are doing nothing. But of course, somebody did comment on the video, the javelin troops do so well in holding like a good proportion of his army up in that rough. I would have not even thought about charging there. It's particularly much a bad charge. There we go. We're fully through on the right side of the African spearmen. We're having a good day. So now so I tend to leave the left side here with the cavalry because I realise he's going to take so long to actually think. And all I've got to do is block him with medium light troops. So here we go. The charges with the veteran legionaries and the Hastati principles, but here the Spanish take it away. The Spanish unit is by far the best unit I think I've actually seen on this tournament, and I'm going to do a final conclusion video of all the rounds after this and where I placed, if you've not already found out where I've been placed. But it's quite a harsh battle here, this 5th round. I've got to say, this middle bit of terrain, I'm glad that the fact is we didn't engage in the open or like on a mid-right or mid-left section. It just divvies the battle up, and the fact is you've got to either ignore it or keep going. Oh, and here we go. We're thinking now we can keep pushing round, and there's the charges we want. We want to push round here. And this cavalry unit is just eats through his unit, and this is what I want to happen. Here we go, break. It's getting them disrupted, and I think he drops again 2 units. That was getting a unit from top cohesion down there, but it's not over. Unfortunately, this is just a punch in the nose for the Romans. So here now we can advance most of our cavalry. Good breaks. Remember, the lights are a high proportion of their army. You know, it's not particularly, people forget that, the light troops can probably good 20, 50, 15, 20%, 30% of your army, a quarter of your army in points. So here we're leaving, but we're knowing now that the battle is on. The battle is on with the Romans in this centre. But the problem is now, a couple of these units oh, excuse me, are in particularly a negative spin here, just because the fact is, and a good pushback for the Chiari there. The Spanish and the Italian unit here are just going to get here we go, 85% loss. There we go, double drop fragmented. This is where I'm starting to worry. I've got to be careful here because the fact is, I'm good against the Chiari, severely moderately disordered. But apart from that, we've just got to keep pressuring to get through there. So here we are struggling. And my cavalry just baited away the infantry on the left. We're happy to push over. So there we go. But I've got to say, it's a tough ride for the Roman player here. Really tough ride. We've got that distinct advantage with the outflanked cavalry, lights, occupying the marsh. You see, occupy the marsh. If I didn't occupy the marsh, he would have got to that left side a lot sooner. So we're happy to sit there shooting him up. And there we go again, just holding that line as much as possible. But my question is can we just hold off as much as possible? %. I mean, the centre unit is in trouble. But he's got a lot more coming on his flank. Here we go, the unit of Spanish. Go. And it disrupted the Spanish just below them. I mean, I like doing these comparison videos. I'm actually looking deeper down into the playlist and the battle. I mean, it's such a rough ride for the Romans. The rough terrain, but not just the marsh. The marsh makes it worse, but we're just really doing well here. A couple of drops, cohesion checks, but they pass them brilliantly, the Romans, because they are superior. So I'm worried here because that Roman unit is on the dead centre because it broke the Spanish unit. So he can flank me next turn. I can't remember what actually happens here. So there we go with the flank again. So he's done 3 flanks now, that cavalryman has. I've just got to try and impact him to death. This is what I'm trying to do, but he just laughs in my face. There we go. We're all in range here. Now we're trying to chase down his lights as much as possible. There we go. We want to. So the point here is I charge, let them run away, and then I catch them with more AP available troops, which is the cavalry. As you can see here, I drop both back. A good disruptions, and you got that sub general on there. But I think that might have been a mistake. So we're happy there, and now it's just push over, keep enveloping that flank, keep that pressure on. I've got to hit them because the Romans are going to bloody me here, and this is where I'm struggling a little bit here because the fact is the Romans are about to charge through here. Hold firm. So now all the cavalry. I don't regret now taking all of the javelin troops. I think mid part of this game I'm thinking that's a lot of javelin cavalry. But it actually pays heed. And here, the reason I charged these in was to try and wear the Chiari unit down, because the Chiari unit is a very small unit, particularly not as big as a standard Roman legionary unit. And the fact is there, we're able to actually just grind him down due to combat modifiers and anything else. So it's on. We've got to be careful of that combat charge. But the light troops just holding up a quarter of the heavy foot in that rough terrain. It's paid well there, and a good rally in the rear. But we're on that right side. We keep pushing. We've just this next turn is the turn that hurts. I can't remember what he actually does with the Roman unit that's free in the centre. Let's have a look. Does he charge the veteran Italian foot? But they can hold their own because they're in rough terrain. Veteran, and there's a general in there as well. There's the flank attack. But them javelin troops are holding firm. They do not want to go anywhere. Look at that one unit, just holding so much off. Disruption of the Chiari at the bottom centre, which is good. So the fact is now, here we go, he does flank. And he fragments. Ugh! But we know just got to hold on this one turn. This one turn we've got to hold on, because then we get an awful amount of flanks here to destroy them. And there's a couple of them pushers. Here we go with the charges. Oh, I want fragments here. And the I ground down. Remember, small unit. And, of course, a couple of disruptions there. Trying to get this guy down to fragmented so I can just drop him with an instant rear charge. That's why you have veteran troops. Because they just sit there all day going, ha, ha, ha. Puny humans. And there we go. I feel like now I've got an advantage. I'm trying to get the flank here. I think I should have just gone straight the way left. Which I did in the end. I'm glad I did that. So we decide to go the charge here to drop them to fragmented. Was that a double chart? A double drop? Yes. Oh. My headset seemed to turn off, doesn't it? Hit the volume. So here we go, trying to hit down the lights yet again. So, pretty much a bad day here. I've just got to keep charging through. And we've just got to hold that line. I mean, that flank attack was pretty unfortunate, but there's nothing else we can do there. I mean, but we're still at 34%. And I think that's about game, actually. Where are we? We're about 26. So I think we're about game here. But we did well. So remember them key factors of terrain, outflanking. It's not about it's not about winning the battle instantly. It's about where this battle's going to be fought initially. And there they go. I'm holding off fighting that combat. It's just there's not many good combats there. We could just play this last bit through because, to be honest, there's not much left. I keep wanting to click combat to stop the combat going through, but I've realised I'm just playing a recording. But them javelin troops did their jobs. They holded up so many units there. What can we count? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units of infantry cavalry in that left side. Because if that would have hit our line, it would have been complete. I struggled with what was just fought on the right side. Never mind what would be fought on the left. I can't remember if these guys drop or not. No, they hold. There we go. Try and charge around there to get further on if I can. But the lights they work brilliantly, and I'm thinking here there's no point charging. Just bring to support in the centre with that cavalry unit. I'm trying to think if he put a general in that light arch unit by accident or not, and I think he did. Here we go. Pain. It's unlucky, but it happens. It happens to me all the time. This is just on the odd occasion where I hand out the ass whooping. So there we go. It was a victory. We're just going to zoom out a little bit so we can do a little bit of a talk. There we go. So we just look back at the train yet again. The marshland, which was a good unit. We hold up 6 units there just on that left flank. That was the key element here. And then what was engaged here was engaged on a whole heap of rough terrain. But the best thing about this as well is the fact is we were able to right hook with cavalry and infantry. The cavalry fight on the right went all my way. If that didn't go my way, I think we would have struggled. We would have lost a lot more men here. But there we go. With that, thinking about your terrain factors, what's going to happen when. Brilliant. So there we go. Click that like, click that subscribe button, ladies and gentlemen. Come back for the final video very soon and then the conclusion. But that was a brilliant victory. Got to say, my opponent played very well, but no Romano. Bye-bye.